Welcome to Life Planning 101, brought to you by Kennedy Financial Services of Eastland. Tune in every Monday morning at 8:30 on KATX and KWBY, and again on Saturday morning at 9 on KATX and KWBY as Angela Robinson joins Terry Slavens to share important financial information to help you live life on purpose. Insurance, investments, estate and tax planning, and much more. All covered now on Life Planning 101.
And good morning and welcome into Life Planning 101. Blakeney Hodges sitting in for Terry Slavens and Jim Kennedy in for Angela Robinson. We have two substitutes today.
Yeah, well, good morning. Glad to be here. Yeah, we can't fill their shoes. I bet we make a run at it.
Yeah, we can at least, Terry would say, oh, we have to bring in the B team, to cover for the A team. Not saying about you, but I know I'm on the B team on this side.
No, we're on the A team. We're like Texas Tech. We're coming out from the bottom. We're going to end up winning. Go Raiders,
and
right?
Nobody expected us to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, go Tech.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
It is awesome. So glad to be here this morning. We're going to talk about how to reach your money goals. I know when starting out in life, I never had any money, and I'm sure there's a lot of you out there start out in life the same way, and you wonder, how do I get that first $500, much less $50,000 or $500,000? And, it happens one step at a time. So what I want to think about is really just kind of the basics. We got 7 ideas that could possibly help you reach those goals, but I always say that if you're trying to reach a goal, why aren't you already there? Ask yourself that question. It's a great question because, obviously it's our behavior, and we want to try to change our behavior so we can create new disciplines. So we're going to get back to the basics. It involves knowing how many dollars we have, what we have in current assets. So add up everything you have. Next thing you got to add up is how much you owe, which is your debt, especially what you spend your money on, what you normally spend every month. And then you have, things you have to spend money on and things you just want to spend money on. So let's talk about spending patterns. Recognize that you need to change if you're ever going to have money, and only you can do it. Mm-hmm. No one else. We'll give you all kinds of tools. You can read about it. You can say you're going to do it, but only you can do it. So it takes an effort. And then what can you change? And then what will you change? So I always like to say it's like coulda, woulda, and when, And so all these things can vary dramatically. Second idea is you got to have a dream. I always say don't let anybody tell you no. No one knows your dreams. You're the only one that has them. But make it big. And then dream it, but then you got to believe it. And you got to look at the pros and the cons, and then you ask yourself, that same question: could I do it? Could I do that? Second is would I? So what does would I mean? Would I means would I change so I could? If I could, then and I would, then when's the best time to start? But if I could and I wouldn't, does it really matter? It really doesn't. Doesn't matter.
No. Yeah, yes, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
No, it does not.
Yeah, so I've got to decide that it's my dream, and I could, and I would, and when's the best time to start? And it's today, right now. And you have to challenge yourself to change your dreams. You have to change your thoughts, and you have to change how you're going to accumulate that money. And it's one step at a time. The next thing is share those goals with someone. Preferably your spouse, a partner, someone that you trust to help you be held accountable, and also perhaps be accountable to each other. Because if you work as a team, we all know we're going to get more done. Mm-hmm. So do we really need that? Do we really have to do that? Reminding each other that, hey, we could do this different. We could make changes that's going to help us financially. We all know that progress starts by telling the truth. But who do we have to tell it to first? And sometimes that truth's pretty brutal. So, we just have to really sit down, what I call sit in the corner, think about it, and get down to where we want to be. We have to be realistic about what's working and what's not working. And a lot of times we always say, I don't understand why. Well, you got to go back to why you did it in the first place, mm-hmm. and what you're actually doing. And maybe this is where you get help. We call ourselves advisors, financial advisors, and life planning advisors. But sometimes you need some outside perspective. It might be from someone you respect. You may hire someone like us. It might be your mom and dad. I know we don't always like to listen to them, but you have to remember everyone that's older than you, and a lot of times even younger you, has had different experiences. And like us, we not only have our experiences, we have every experience of every client we've ever dealt with.
Yeah.
So think about all the ideas that people have to save money.
Yeah.
There's some great ideas out there, but you have to be willing to want to listen, and you have to
make the changes.
And make the changes. That's right. So that outside perspective is very, very important. I'll tell a story. When I was very, very young, we never really got to go on vacations. But as a very youngster, I wanted to go on vacations, take my family on vacations. Mm-hmm. Well, I found out kind of why mom and dad didn't take us on vacations. They're expensive.
Yeah.
And, yeah. So we went, and the first time I went, my kids like to broke me because every time you go in a restaurant, what do?
They want to play the games and stuff.
Yeah, order the most expensive thing on the menu back then.
Or get a Dr. Pepper.
Right.
You know, a family of 4, you can save about $10 if you just get water off of your bill.
You just stole my story.
I'm sorry.
No, that's exactly right. What I did is I made a deal with them. I said, we're going to go out to eat. Now, this is a long time ago.
Yeah.
So you can imagine Aaron and Angela and Garrett. And we'd go into a restaurant, I'd look at the menu, and I'd say, this is all I'm going to give you. And back then, you could eat a lunch for like $5.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
okay? And I said, if you'll order water instead of tea, I'll give you the $1. Because I remember back when we used to pay $0.25 for a glass of tea. Now it went to $1. And that, again, that was...
now it's like it's in between $2.50.
That's right.
Yeah.
So just think about it. You give the kids the option. I'm going to give you the money instead of the restaurant or the place that we're going to eat. And then you only get to spend $5 on your meal. So anything you eat less than $5, I'll give you the difference.
Yeah.
Okay, so what they do, they ordered a grilled cheese sandwich and a glass of water, and I was giving them $5 because a grilled cheese back then was $1. And then so that's $4, and I gave them $1 for drinking water. That was $5.
Yeah.
But guess what?
And they got their water intake.
And they got plenty to eat, and they had money to spend for something that was really important.
Yeah.
So think about how much money we spend just because it's there. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. But the food is just it's amazing how much money that we spend on food.
Yeah.
So that fourth ideal is you had to think about where am I at, how did I get here, and I normally didn't get here overnight, and you're not going to change overnight. We don't just walk in and say I'm going to save $500 a month. You know, if I'm not saving anything, I'd be lucky to save $25 a month, and then $50, then $100. So you have to consider your savings patterns, just like your spending patterns. You got to start small and then increase it. And a great place to start is with that food we just talked about, and how we spend money on food. Do you cook at home or do you eat out? And how many times do we eat out? And then when we look at the menu, what are we ordering off that menu? Everything we really need or what we want. And if you eat out a lot, try to do it less often. And think about how you could do that. And consider this. The menus that you see today, I've noticed this, they're all meals. Have you noticed the menu boards? It's a meal deal.
Like combos. Yeah.
And remember back in the day, you could order one item. Mm-hmm. And do I need that combo? Do I need those extra fries? Do I need that big
Beans and
Coke?
rice, yeah.
Can I drink water? Can that save me money? So if I ordered individually, and I know now, when I go to a place, I ask, I just want this. And I ask how much it is. Because sometimes it's just as expensive as the meal, but most of the time it's not. So be sure you ask and find out what it's going to cost you. I mean, how many people in the world go in a place of business and never ask what something's going to cost and expect to save money?
Yeah, nobody. Well, I mean, there may be some, but you shouldn't do that.
Yeah, we should always know what we're going to spend and how much we're going to spend it on. So you might want to change the habits and look at what those extra costs are, and then look at how you could save just on that one thing of how you eat.
Yeah,
meals.
One thing, it adds up.
Right.
Well, let's take a quick break, but we will be back, so keep it tuned right here to KATX and KWBY. Welcome back in. Life Planning 101, KATX and KWBY. Blakeney Hodges sitting in for Terry Slavens, and Jim Kennedy sitting in for Angela Robinson. And this is segment 2, and of course, talking about money,
That's right.
saving money.
Yeah. Let's keep talking a little bit about this, taking the baby steps. That the fourth idea that we was talking about, food, and another idea is as you go to the grocery store. How many of us just go to the grocery store and grab a basket and start around the aisles there?
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's kind of been proven if you take a list with you, and you only go after what's on the list.
Yeah.
Now we're going to obviously see things in there that we know that we've left off.
Like, that should have been on my
That
list.
should have been on your list. But so many times we kind of gaze at what's on the shelves and say, oh man, I want to really try that, and we just grab that and throw it in the basket. And then, if you go look at your pantry or look in your cabinets, how many of those things, it's been there for more than a month.
Yeah.
And did you really need it? Did you really want it? And water, we talk about drinking water today. We all used to drink water out of a faucet. And today we seem to have this idea we don't need to do that anymore. And probably so. Maybe there's so many things going on. But could we buy a container that actually filters that water and drink that rather than buy water? And how many times do we're spending a lot of money just on buying water when we can buy a filtration system one time and then drink that water? And even carrying the containers with water, with us instead of actually buying water when we go out to eat. So a lot of times people will stop at a fast food place and get a bottle of water. What does that bottle of water cost at that fast food compared to if you brought your own?
Mm-hmm. Close to $2 probably.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, when you look at the savings, and again, this is where you go back. Let's go back to number one. You write it down. You see how much you're spending on it. And could I change? Could I make a decision to do something a little bit different? So, these things all add up. If you don't do it, you'll never know how much they're going to add up to, because everyone has different spending habits. The other thing is automate your savings and decide to do that through your payroll. Most people get a paycheck, and so of some type. And even if you're self-employed, automate what you want to save every month. Put that money back, have it go in weekly if you get paid weekly, bi-weekly or monthly, but save often. And the more you save, the more you're going to have. So have a good friend, and we got this saying from her, but she says, the more you do it, the more you'll do it. And you think about it, the more you do it, the more you'll do it. So the more you concentrate on saving, the more you're going to save. The more you concentrate on spending, of how you spend, the more you're going to concentrate on that, rather than just automatically throwing something in that basket, automatically going through a drive-through, getting the basket, doing those type of things. So it's got to be a conscious effort that we want to save money. And we know it works because we've seen people that when they work on their budget for the whole year, at the end of the year, they won't be off $100 in the whole year.
Man, that's crazy.
Yeah.
They're all expenses.
All expenses and all income. There'll be $100 to $1,000 difference at the.
That's crazy.
Yeah, because guess what? They kept good records.
Yeah.
They wrote down what they spent. You know what your electric bill is going to be.
Yeah.
You know what your house payment is. You know what your insurance cost is. You know all these things. But if you don't keep up with it, you're not going to know what the outcome's going to be. So all these things add up, and they do work. That's we've seen people that on very, very modest incomes have $1 million sitting in the bank. Now, how'd they get that? They got that one paycheck at a time. They took those baby steps and started saving. They started looking at what they spent money on. They were able to do that one step at a time, and now they're millionaires. How many of you like to have $1 million sitting in the bank? And I don't mean $1 million in assets. I mean $1 million
Cash.
in cash. They could go cash that out. So
Yeah.
what an awesome feeling. And there's nothing better to know when you write that last check and pay off that car. Well, just think about how you would feel if you had the dollars that you wanted in that bank. And when I worked in a bank years ago, I had a customer come up one day, and this is back when I first started. And he said he was a business owner, and I was asking him how he got to be where he was at, because I was impressed with him. I was young and wanted to be just like him. And he says, "Well, you got to save, save, save." And he said, "This is in the '70s." He says, "When you have $200,000 in the bank, you write your check. You get to do what you want. You get to make the decisions." And that really stuck with me because I said, wow, how do I ever get $200,000 today?
Yeah.
So take these steps and you'll get there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Order water more often.
That's right.
I feel like this is a good place to break. You want to break, and we
Yeah,
come
let's-
back, we'll move along through the
Yep,
remaining
let's do that.
7. Okay. Keep it tuned right here. It's on KATX and KWBY Life Planning 101. Welcome back into the third and final segment this morning of Life Planning 101 right here on KATX, KWBY. Blakeney Hodges with you, joined by Jim Kennedy, and we are continuing on through ways you can save money, and even just starting small. And we're not talking about, you need to save $20,000 this year. It's small ways that you can start out that add up.
Right. Even if you can save $2,000 or $200.
Yeah.
Just $1 at a time will add up over time. So it's exactly right. So let's talk about something that we know is in life that we don't like, but we all probably have to do it to get ahead. I always say there's good debt and bad debt. Okay, good debt is something that you're going to own. It's going to build equity that over time you'll have more money. Then there's bad debt. Buy something I don't really need, and if I buy that at the end of the term, what's it worth? It's probably going to be worth less, maybe worth nothing. So vacation, for example, is a great thing to have, but if you borrow money to go do it, you have the memories, but you have nothing in return for that. So really need to be saving to go on vacation, not borrowing to go on vacation.
Yeah.
And sometimes that does happen. I know
Yeah.
people do that. So a lot of people will say, oh, I've got a savings account. Well, tell me what that money's for. Well, it's to pay my insurance when it comes due. It's to go on vacation. So that's really not a savings account. That's a saving to spend account. So, there's nothing wrong with a saving. So we can save to spend, but we need to have a savings account for emergencies.
Yeah.
For, if something happens, where in the world's that money going to come from? Mama, dad, or uncle, aunt, brother, sister, or the bank?
Yeah.
And none of them are good. So we don't want to be looking at debt as the way to get ahead in certain ways. Real estate, borrowing against that, maybe something produces income, that's one thing. But just to go out and create debt because we want something. Again, is this something I really need, or is this something I really just want? So it's important. So today when folks make a large purchase, they don't often consider the payout of that period of time. So I see cars today, 72 months, 84 months,
84, I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, so you'll see mobile homes, travel trailers. I mean, it's 10 years. I mean, it's amazing how far that those reach out. But the end of term, what's that vehicle going to be worth? And if I need to trade in the midterm, do I have any equity?
Yeah.
A really good chance I won't. Then I'm upside down. And I firmly believe you should never finance anything that wears out over 48 months. And because 48 months is 4 years, you'll build up some equity in it, and you'll have some trade-in value.
Yeah.
If anything over that, it's very possible you will not have any trade-in value, and then you're upside down, and you can't get out of it. So if you have a husband and wife, for example, one of them loses their job, they need to sell one of their vehicles, and they owe more against it than what it's worth, what are they going to do?
They're still going to have to pay on it even after,
Yeah, so it's not a good thing. So you always want to look at that debt. I know a lot of times business owners, for example, go buy a piece of equipment instead of talking to someone like us about what they could do to get some write-offs for the year. At the end of that term, when the equipment's 4 or 5 years old, is it going to be worth what you paid for it? No, it's going to be a devalued of that piece of equipment, and appreciation on it, there's none. There's zero. So if you'd invest the money, could get the same deduction, at least you'd have the money and you didn't lose anything. Even if you made zero, you'd still have your money. If the piece of equipment's wore down, you get less.
Yeah.
So again, getting help, asking for help and things that's not normally what you do is always a good thing. And it doesn't hurt to ask more than one. Second thing is use credit cards wisely. Don't charge anything you can't pay off. Credit card interest is extremely expensive, and you need to study your credit cards, see what they're doing for you, and make sure you're not paying too much interest if you actually have to pay that out. So bad habits are usually the most expensive thing that we have.
Yeah.
And it could be better served if we, set those goals. And just during the commercial break, we were talking about, you want to make all you can, you want to save all you can, you want to give all you can, because that makes you feel good. And not only that you made money, but you saved money, but you also gave money.
Yeah.
Those things are always good. Bad habits don't just involve eating too much junk food, drinking, smoking, all the bad habits we have, but it's also living in a disposable society that we live in today. People look at something and say, I don't want that anymore, just throw it away.
Yeah.
Wow, is that expensive?
Yeah.
I've never seen like what it's like today. I mean, we just think we're tired of looking at it and we go replace it. You see it all the time with cars. I'm tired of the cars. The grocery shopping, remember those things? Do I really need it right now? It might save you more than you ever realized by just going through a few of these ideals of, is this necessary? It's a great question. Is it something I really need? Is it something I really want? But do I need it? That's a big, big thing. So the final step is review your recurring monthly expenses. And you might look at those things like credit cards, your membership fees for all your TV, Netflix, Sling, all the things that we're paying for. And when you consider those spending habits, look at the baby steps, be honest, be specific, share your goals, let go of the bad habits, review those monthly expenses, write down the goals, share them with someone else, and review what you did last month, compare it to this month, and then look at it quarter by quarter, and you will save money. It's proven over and over again. The more awareness that you have of every dollar that goes out and every dollar that comes in and every dollar of debt, and sitting down and looking at it in a wise manner is just going to be nothing but beneficial for you. And we call that living life on purpose, not by default.
Yeah. Living life on purpose always makes me think of Life Planning 101.
Yeah.
Well, at Kennedy Financial Services. Let's give your website and phone number before we wrap up in the next 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So in case anybody wants to reach out to you guys.
Yeah, it's Kennedy-financial.com. So just be glad to put something out on the, since anything to us, to ask us, and we'll be glad to answer those questions for you. And we want everyone to be successful, no matter where they're at, what they're doing. It breaks our heart to know that, gosh, if we, could have helped anyone during their past to have more when they really need it most, that's the most important thing.
Absolutely. Good things, all good things. Life Planning 101, that's a wrap for this week. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for joining us for Life Planning 101, brought to you by Kennedy Financial Services of Eastland. Tune in every Monday morning at 8:30 on KATX and KWBY, and again on Saturday morning at 9 o'clock on KATX and KWBY for more Life Planning 101.
Advisory services offered through Smart Money Group, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Securities offered through Calton & Associates Incorporated, member FINRA SIPC. Kennedy Financial Services Incorporated is an independent of Calton & Associates Incorporated and Smart Money Group, LLC.